What's up guys, Nightingale here, and welcome back to another update notice video. I'm back finally. It's been, what, 3 weeks? To be fair, I'll go ahead and give you guys a quick update. Took about 2 weeks to get RAM. My mom ended up going into the hospital. She had to spend several days in the ER, and then got her into a room, took her to IMCU. She had some complications there, and she's now home and resting. So that delayed me coming back a little bit earlier, or a little bit later than anticipated. But we're back this week, and you're gonna actually get the update, the balance patch and this all in one, so you'll get my first real reaction. I kind of have glanced over it and talked a little bit when it was released, but with things going on, I didn't really have a lot of time to focus in on that. So let's go ahead and start with the update notice here. So we've got Chroma Dominial coming back for probably more disappointing news, and we're going straight into hero balance and artifact adjustments. I hate this time of the month. So our first hero is yet again another ML5. We got, oh god, we got two of them. I forgot about that. So the first one is going to be Little Queen Charlotte. Her damage dealt against dark element targets will be increased when using Lemaire's Will. So that's her S3, so great. Strongs. She'd go smash and hopefully kill dark elements easier than she already did. It's kind of weird, but okay. That works. 5-star Spirit Eye Celine. Oh gosh. This one I was a little wary of. So the change now is she attacks the enemy with a sheath when the skill is used. If it is not triggered by a dual attack, has a 50% chance to use Nimble Sword instead of Mighty Strike. When the caster is possessed, the effect chance is doubled. The skill cannot trigger a dual attack. Nimble Sword dispels one debuff. From the caster before swiftly attacking the enemy, penetrates the target's defense by 35%. So for those of you who are special and do not know how to do math, that means she now has a 100% activation chance of using it if she is possessed, which is her S3. So Celine now does her party trick 100% of the time. We'll see how that works out. All right, Jacko. So for those of you out there that are newer to Epic 7, Jacko is a collab unit from Guilty Gear Strive, which means there's a good chance Guilty Gear is about to be run this summer, or before the next balance patch. So far, it's held pretty true. They don't buff collab units unless the collab's getting rerun inside of a thing. So her thing after the change is now, at the start of the battle, grants a chain of Cryon to the ally in the back row for 2 turns. After an ally attacks when the target has a debuff, increase combat readiness of the caster by 30%. This effect is activated after all of the attacker's effects have occurred, can only be activated once every 3 turns. And now Chain of Cryon is after attacking, inflicts a random debuff. Stun cannot be buffed. Decrease hit chance restrict on the target for 1 turn. And it cannot be, this buff cannot be dispelled. So they're changing this up a decent bit for her passive. So they're getting rid of the stun, and now it's just a random debuff. So some could see that as a change, some could see that as a positive and a negative. Some like the crowd control, some now might like this better, because I think of this. So her new S3 forever, Eliason Driver, after awakening, increases attack of the caster for 2 turns before attacking the enemy by swallowing them with a Jacko lantern. When the enemy is defeated, increases combat readiness of all allies by 20%, and grants a an extra turn to the caster, penetrates the target's defense by 50% when the target has a debuff and damage dealt increased. So if I understand this correctly, it's now going to help her out, and hopefully make her a little bit more viable long term. And then, of course, Summer 5-Head is back with the Summer side story about to rerun. So we'll probably have this 3-week Summer side story and then the new Summer side story with Lulika coming up shortly. But this means, of course, she is getting rerun, I think, in 2 weeks. So this is par for the course for them to buff a limited unit before they get run. And they're basically reworking Summer 5-Head. So, caught a big one. They're now changing it to acquire 20 Fighting Spirit. Attacks the enemy with 2 Meaty Fish. Has a 60% chance to decrease defense for 1 turn. When activated as a dual attack, this attack changes into an attack that targets all enemies. And the changed attack does not trigger a counterattack. Has a now 25%. It now increases the combat readiness of the caster by 25% versus 20. Don't think that's really going to make a whole lot of a difference, but it will move her around more. Now looks like they are completely reworking her passive. So, Adult's Responsibility increases critical hit chance by 30% at the start of the first battle, gain 60 Fighting Spirit, and grants enhanced dual attack to the caster. At the end of every 4 ally turns, grants enhanced dual attack to the caster. So looks like they're making this a lot more streamlined and moving some things around. So let's see what her, well, hello there, skill has been done. So now after Awakening and after the change, they're now dispels all debuffs from the caster, attacks the enemy with a pod of killer whales, stunning them for 1 turn, increases speed of all allies for 2 turns, penetrates target's defense by 50%. Versus now proportional to the damage lost health. Hopefully this will make her a little bit more usable so that it's not just ignore her and then kill her. And now we move on to Shahrun. Just Trust Me is her passive. So at the end of the enemy's turn, for each buff granted to an enemy has a 5% chance, so this is lottery, keep that in mind, 5% chance to increase combat readiness of the caster by 20%. At the end of the turn, grants a random buff and a barrier to the ally except for the caster with the highest attack for 2 turns. Barrier strength increased proportional to the caster's max health. They're also changing it now where the random buff will be increased attack, critical hit damage, speed, and immunity versus critical hit chance and continuous healing is what they've removed. Now this one I did know about, and I'm not super thrilled about this because this is, again, starting to get into that point of crossing the line and you gotta stop doing this. Under May You Perish, after Awakening, attacks all enemies, decreasing buff durations by 2 turns before inflicting decreased speed and venom for 2 turns, increases combat readiness of the caster by 50%. Why this is a big deal is because now you are yet again just straight up nullifying any chances of immunity, any other buffs. It's just yet another thing. While it was originally 1 turn, now it's 2 turns, so you don't want to buff until Shahrun has used her S3. Because now most buffs will get re-rolled. There's only a few left in the game that have a 3-turn duration. So this is, again, crossing the line in that aspect of the game, but she didn't have a whole lot of use, and it's just now play around the mechanic. Get her to burn her S3 so that she lands her Venoms, gets greedy, and then you use your thing. Wow. Auranka is getting I forgot all about she was getting a buff. Thrashing in the Prairie. So after Awakening, runs up to the enemy to attack when the enemy is defeated, inflicts extinction, and resets skill cooldown. Penetrates the target's defense by 70% when the target is granted a barrier, increases damage dealt. So they added the skill resets, all they added. Because she already inflicts extinction. So now, basically, she just, whenever her S3 kills somebody, as long as it kills, it'll reset the skill cooldown and she can use it again. For losing the attack buff on her own. I mean, okay. The attack buff was useless to begin with, unless you didn't run an opener. But, okay. Alright, Assassin Cartesia is getting an imprint concentration. From what I can tell, he's getting overhauled. They're changing his imprint concentration from attack to effectiveness. Alright. Shred attacks with a sharp claw has a 75% chance to provoke for 1 turn. Alright. Battle Fever increases evasion by 50%, increases evasion of all allies, except for the caster by 20. When it, successfully evading, increases combat readiness by 15%. Doesn't matter. There's already units out there that are gonna just one-shot him anyway. So who cares? They're changing his exclusive equipment with Battle Frenzy effect of evasion chance and additional 5%. Battle Fever effect increases evasion of the caster by an additional 20%. So as long as you've got Symbol of Unity, you void that out. Now we get into the artifact balances for this. For this balance patch. Wings of Light and Shadow, this is a great change. Increases critical hit chance by 15% when attacking. Critical hit is made, increases the damage of the next attack by 20. This is way better than with a single attack, means now every knight can use this. Great for Fighter Maya still, but whatever. Why is this here? This just shows you the agenda they have. After the balance patch, increases attack by 15%. After using a non-attack skill, has a 100% chance to gain 10 souls and remove 10 souls from the enemy. Once, the souls can only be acquired once. So you can literally go ahead and get somebody open, wide open, with a soul burn, turn 1. Because there's so many extremely overpowered 10 soul burns. And you're now giving it to the fastest unit in the game. Why? Why do you let this be on for thieves? I was okay with removing the souls, but now you're giving them micro book. Why? Why? Iron Fan, still useless. After an attack, after using an attack that targets all enemies except for a basic attack, increases combat readiness of the caster by 15 to 30%. Can only be activated once per turn. Why would anybody use this for Rangers? Rangers already have limited decent artifacts, and this is not one of them. Whatever. But if you do happen to have this thing maxed out for whatever reason, you get to recall it. You're going to get all your information back. It'll be available from 6.8 to 6.22. There, you're going to get all your stuff back. You're going to get the 5 fans back, and you can read up more about all the details of that. Effect change temporarily available for the exclusive balance. Assassin Cartesia, Silent Green, battle option. You'll have the other 2 available, so you can exchange it out if you do not want that. And that's pretty much the normal thing for that. To move on, to go ahead and get through this, summon UI and effect improvements. This is a very useless change, but let's go ahead and see what they're doing. When entering the summon screen, summon banners in the menu will be displayed to the right. Mystic banner, top right banner, 4 banners at a certain period of time. Leaving soon icon will be available starting 2 days before the start. I mean, great to let them know. Summon mileage and display notification, exposure improvements. Great, that's good to know that we have those icons are going to be made bigger. That's what it looks like. Bottom left, and will be simplified. Cool. Pop-up screen. Cool. Good. Here's one that I think is really stupid, but whatever. I guess if people are this shallow and this is how they have to pull, great. Now the skill 3 animations for 5 and 4-star heroes will be displayed on the standby screen when entering the summon banner. Whatever. It really, if this is what it takes to sell a unit, if this is really the selling point, and not their kits, Sure, great, cool, whatever. So now you get to see their summoning animation, or their S3 animations on the screen. Other improvements, UX components of the summons that are not unlocked will be displayed with an icon. The Mystic UI will be simplified, thank you. Improvements will be made to where heroes and artifacts and 10x summons, selective summons, and other features. Cool, thank you. Summon effect improvements. They're changing the summon animation because it wasn't cool as it was already, so now they're making it more cool, I guess. Summoning effect skip function improvement. Improvements will be made to the hero summon skip function. All summon effects will be stopped and the final result screen will be displayed when tapping the button located at the top right of the 10x. So I guess that means now the summoning effect cannot be when acquiring a new 3-star or higher. The final result will be displayed when acquired. Okay, cool. So you can just go straight to the end. Thank you. That was really annoying. While it was cool to know you had something new showing up, it was very disappointing when it was just a 3-star. The rerun for this week is going to be Politis and Knowledge Seed. Skip it because you're going to have other things coming up soon. Other improvements, adjustments, they're adding more to your Epic 7 Spotify. For those of you who actually care about that crap, nobody else does. Hero and artifacts, charms, and politics information at Hero Journal are going to be changed. 4-star skill with the skill effect, adventure side story, region reward stage. Is there anything voice actors playing? Moonlight Aether. There was some stuff in here that was important. Skill description of Hall of Trials. Where was it? The effect curse will now be activated. World Arena. Ah, this is what it was. World Arena, they're going to be adding the posters into the journal. And then now they're changing the Battle Frenzy effects, so this must mean that we're getting close to time to change some stuff up. Alright, so they're removing the speed of mages by 7 is going to be removed. Great, just in time for those people who are wanting to pull on Dark Rowana. She is a dark mage, as the leaks had said she would be, so let's see what else ends up happening here. And they're changing Battle Frenzy stages once again. Now, this is why I was late today, is because I sat and did the math here on paper to go over this, because while this is absolutely BS, it is as bad as it seems, but it is not as bad as it seems. This, once again, shows that Smilegate has a bias to a very specific playstyle, and only one playstyle, and that's all they care about. They do not care about the actual health of the game. You cannot argue this with me. There is nothing you can say that will make me think otherwise. Everything they've been doing in the last year has been to completely solidify down to one aspect of the game. Now, there's going to be a lot of you out there arguing, well, they're making it to where it's for the top players. Well, sure, but would you rather get the overall health of the game better? Because there's been a significant drop in players in RTA over the last 3 seasons. Why? It's because they've lost control of what they wanted to do with the game. It's no longer about the general game. Well, you could say, well, PvP is really only for the whales. Well, if you do that math and you use the 10% rule, it's not for the whales, because there's only 1,000 of them at that point that are giga whales, if you go off the 10% rule, off of what the remaining numbers were there. And I guarantee you there were way more than just those 1,000, because I know several that got up that high. So that doesn't necessarily apply. It's people are getting upset with the direction of the balance of the game. So to put this in perspective with their changes, we've got, they're decreasing health, and they're getting the number of turns to get into it quicker. They're also decreasing healing a little bit faster, and, or no, they're lowering the healing, so you'll be able to heal a little bit better, but they are, and they're changing the effectiveness, which is good. The effectiveness ramp was a little bit stupid, and I even called that out last time. So the number of turns to get into Havoc is being changed, and the amount of health that is decreasing. Now, here's why I tell you all that this is a one-sided argument. There's only one playstyle that loses out from losing HP. The turn 2. That's healers, tanks, and bruiser DPS units. Those are who loses out on this. Now, here's where the math comes in. Whoopsie. Okay, we're back. So I based this off of a rough Valencia of mine. So the base stats were going to be 1,700 attack, roughly 1,300 defense, and 24,000 HP. Now, we're not going to go into crit damage and all this stuff. I think the crit damage on the calculator was 250. So based off of 250 crit damage. So this isn't an exact build. This isn't saying, oh, the numbers should look better. This is just to give you guys ideas and numbers to put it in your head so you can see what this is actually doing. And then we're going to have the argument here. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So we're basing the unit off 24,000 HP. And if this Valencia with 24,000 HP and 1,700 attack, she would be doing 5,074 damage on her S3, and the S1 alone, we're not talking about the trample skill, would be doing 3,158 damage. So that's just turn one right out the gate. That's what she would naturally be doing without any reduction. Now I can tell you, as somebody who has played turn 2 for quite a while, you're probably going to get close to that number of turns opening up, especially with all the bullcrap they've been doing over the last 6 months of extra turns. Think about how many units they've released really quickly who have had extra turns. So now, instantly, 1, 2, you can get 2 turns off just from the opener unit. Then now you have a unit with a soul burn. 3, 4. Now you've got that. Now they've got another unit or two that might be still slightly faster than you. It still won't kill your units, but now you're already entering stage 1 of the battle frenzy. So we're now getting this 5% decrease to health. So if this is the case, again, we're coming off of that. Now our Valencia gets reduced to 22,800 HP, but she's going to now gain 85 attack. So she'll have 1,785 attack. So if we take this into the damage calculator and we change the numbers around, we now go from 5,074 damage to 4,917, 1,558 to 3,158 to 3,097. So there's a slight decrease in damage just by the time you get to take your turn. Okay. Now we move on to the next stage. So we get into stage 2. You managed to heal up, you've tanked through, you're doing good. You're fine. So now you enter stage 2. Now we're going to get the next reduction, which is the 10% reduction. It's 21, so now that 24,000 HP now gets removed down to 21,600 HP. But your attack is going to go up now to 1,870. So in this stage, you're now going to be doing those same 2 attacks are going to be doing 4,760 and 3,036. So we're starting to see that you are pulling away on the damage. While it doesn't look like a lot, there's something else to be said here in just a minute. So just to go one step further, just to show the next level, stage 3. This point, it's going to be a lot harder because now you're going to have the decreased healing, your barriers are getting reduced. You're starting to feel the effects of frenzy now in your units. It's getting harder to heal, it's getting harder to do damage. Well, how much damage difference is it? Okay, so remember, it was 5,074 for the original S3. Now it's going to be 4,552, and the S1 will be 3,024. Well, that doesn't sound like it's too bad, because we barely lost any damage off of that S1, right? That's because the attack increase does go up by 20 at this point. The S3 scales way better on the HP. The S1 scales way better, or better at this point, with having the attack. It's not quite as detrimental to the kit. But if we look at this from beginning to end, this means I've now lost, in total from the beginning to now stage 3, I've lost 422 attack, or 422 damage in my S3, and I've lost 134 from my original S3 just by hitting stage 3. Now, this is where I said you need to think about this, because my HP is getting reduced overall. So I started with 24,000 HP, but now I've only got 20,000 HP. So I've lost over 3,600 HP just by progressing down. So that gives me my effective ability to stay in the fight. I've now lost 3,000 damage. I've lost a full S1 worth of damage off of Valencia, meaning I can't take that full hit anymore just by reaching stage 3. Here's where the bias really comes in. It's for the attack percent, because guess who doesn't care if you lose HP? Cleavers and attack-based units. If your unit is based off of attack percent, there is no disadvantage here, because you are ride or die by the seat of your frickin' pants already on, I could sneeze on you, which is why bruisers are so deadly to cleavers. Because if they can't kill it, they don't have the HP to back them up, because my wet noodle freaking al dente pasta attack is not going to kill you if it's a bruiser. But if you literally went only attack, crit chance, crit damage, and speed, you're screwed because you have no defense. You have no HP. So my wet noodle attack is now quite detrimental to you. Why this is so stupid is because they only get an advantage the longer they hang out in the game. They're not getting their attack reduced. They're not getting their speed reduced. They're not getting anything that made their playstyle a hindrance. It only makes them better for somehow luck sacking their life and staying alive long enough in the fight. As a bruiser, you're losing your HP that would keep you from getting killed. You're now losing a little bit of damage, which is okay because the attack is making up for it some, but it's the ability to stay in the fight. The longer you stall them out, the worse it gets for you. If you can't, at that point you should, because of the HP decrease, if for some reason they do have a little bit of bulk in some of their stuff, you should be able to get it out, but there is no disadvantage to being a cleaver. It just takes specific gear, it's attack percent only, and this is really just like a, why are y'all even doing this? They say they're trying to make this game an esport thing. They talk about how they want to make things fair for all players. You know, they appreciate the different play styles, and they are releasing all these unique units. Well, if you really look at what they've been releasing, it's been nothing but Cleavefest units for the last year, or anything that helps support turn 1 or the opener aspect of cleaving and the aggressive play style. Abigail was really kind of one of the first units to come out in a long time that was really a turn 2 player. But immediately, you're coming in and saying, we're reducing your health immediately. As soon as Frenzy 1 kicks off, you're losing HP. We're sorry. We want this to progress faster. We're tired of these long encountering fights. I'm sorry. If you're that dense and that slow that you can't realize that the balance to high attack is high bulk, you've missed the entirety of how this goes. Well, we don't want people to go bulk versus bulk. That's your fault if you want to go bulk to bulk. Because you, as a turn 2 player, knows as soon as you see a turn 2 player going, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be a very long fight. I need to change my thought process around and bring some heavy hitting damage. Don't just keep going down that rabbit hole. That's your fault as a player in your mentality, not the game's fault. Sure, we could have some stuff where you could get gate kept and they could do some stupid stuff. Bring 4 reviving soul weavers, whatever you want to talk about, where they just keep it there to where you can't kill them. But that's also their fault. And that should be looked at in the terms of service of, you shouldn't be doing this. We should look at temporarily banning you because you did this. And it shouldn't take long for this to get through the system to go, okay, yeah, you're doing this thing. We can clearly see all your battle records. You aren't being healthy for the game. Yet it was your choice, but it is a trolling gatekeeping method. And there are a lot of MMOs that do punish this act as well. When you progress players from truly being able to progress content through an literal wall of sense, a lot of games step in and the admins say, you can't do this. Even though it's completely plausible by game mechanic, it comes down to what's right and wrong. And that's where it comes down to the game devs just need to step up and temporarily ban an account, knock it out for 7 days for doing this, or 5 days, 24 hours, what have you. And you can stop that aspect. But if that's what their fear is, this isn't how you fix this. This isn't how you make the game balanced. These balance patch notes that we've been getting for the last 6 months do nothing for the state of the game. If anything, it's only making it worse, and if you look at the drop in the RTA numbers, it shows you just that. So, everything else here is pretty much, the only thing, the big note here is they're moving Assassin Cartesia from the NPC arena battle, and they're playing it with Muchaka. Or however you say his name. Yeah, Muchaka. And that's pretty much it. It's not as bad, like I said. In theory, it's not as bad. It's just basically it's happening faster. This isn't what you should be looking at. Honestly, there should be no HP decrease in the first 3 turns. Or the first 3 set of... maybe, if you want to start, 5% should start at turn 3, which I believe was stage 3. Yeah. So this needs to be reverted back to its original. And at that point, so be it. At that point, you've at least gotten your basic turn off. Your HP units, if they didn't get killed from whatever bullcrap from all the extra turn-based units. And that's the other issue of the game, is they're releasing too many of these, and too many with the soul burn availability. That's just allowing these turns to be burned instantaneously. It wasn't like this when the game was originally released. You couldn't just extra turn, extra turn, extra turn, extra turn. And next thing you know, you've set everything up, everything got to go off with with no penalties, no nothing. Now it's, here's your little safe bubble, here's your little gold stickers, here's your participation trophy, here is your safe space, this is just your exclusive little space, just perfectly for you. I hope you enjoy. Can I get you anything? Would you like $1 million? I can hand you that as well if that'll keep you here and playing the game. I'll do anything, you know, to make sure that we keep you happy. That's literally what they're doing to one playstyle. They literally are ignoring the drowning kid in the pool in the back. So, but that's going to be it for today's update notice. It's a longer one because, one, it's the first one since I've been back in 3 weeks. And we also had the update notice, and I wanted to go over this change a little bit more in detail. So, we'll be back next week with better changes. The big one I think is coming up is going to be the background battling should be coming next week for adventure and side stories. I don't know why this took almost a year to show up in the game, but it's now finally showing up in the game. Thankfully, it's added. I can now say background battling in its entirety is now as it should have been when it was released. It only took you a year to figure out how bad you messed up. So thank you guys so much. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.